Christopher Spera, and this is the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 73, CEMeh. I can't unmeh that. Recorded live Sunday, January 14th, 2024, live from iTechGear Central. As I said, I'm Christopher Spera, the editor-in-chief over at iTechGear.org, and joining us today, back from the holidays and its wonderful relaxationness, Brother Joel McLaughlin. How are you, sir?
I'm doing quite well.
All right.
Living in the retro arcade had its second episode of the year already, and I covered my top 5 retro video game YouTube channels. So
awesome. So of course, you're referring to yourself being the host of the Living in the Retro Arcade podcast.
Yes,
and
sir.
you're also currently the host of the Linux Link Tech Show.
Mm-hmm. And this one.
And this one. Awesome. Joining us also back from the somewheres in the wherever.
Back from nappy time.
Back from nappy time, yes. Mr. Chris Gavula, how are you, sir?
I'm going back to my nap. Let's just
Thank
keep
you.
That's what CES did.
Probably
to
a
us
wise
year.
move.
That's what CES has done to us. Yeah. Fair enough.
Probably a wise move too. Former contributing editor over at Gear Diary, Pocket Now, and of course over at iTechGear.org. Good nap?
Not good enough.
Not good enough. And of course, last but never least, the former co-owner of WUGNET Publications, Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin. How are you, sir?
I am fine, gang. It's great to be back. And I know I shouldn't complain about the cold because I know 2 of you live just somewhere south of the North Pole. But for Tennessee, this is cold. We're in single digits over the next week, and it's not going to be any fun.
No. We are currently minus.
You're not how to drive in snow down here. They see it once every 2 years.
I'd rather it be cold than it be snowy. That's all I got to say.
You know what
about
they
that.
say:
And
for every flake of snow that falls, a redneck goes to the Piggly Wiggly. So
that's true. That's true.
So
and Larry's stores have no eggs, milk, or bread because everyone had to go
because all the rednecks
French
came
toast.
You don't know how true that is.
It is true.
Wow.
I was one of them that had to go to the store today, and man, it was a zoo in there.
Everyone wanted to make French toast. Let's face it. I mean, it's
absolutely.
Eggs,
milk, bread.
Well, it is odd that we were in the 40s, last week up here, and suddenly, as Chris just said, Chris and I live roughly at the same kind of
longitude.
We're basically at the same north-south kind of thing as each other. I'm a couple hours, east of him. But the thing is, it's amazing to go from that to go to single digits this week. So here we are, guys. Freezing. But you know what? We care so much about our listeners that we're here for them anyway.
We do, and we are braving the cold.
The cold.
Braving the meat locker, because right now it's a frosty, it's a nice balmy -12 here at iTechGear Central. So and that's the air temperature. That's not a wind chill. That's the air temperature. So good on you. Y'all keep warm.
You can move,
No,
for that.
No. That's not what the wife says. She's like, no, not yet. My grandbabies. I'm like, yes, ma'am.
I know.
So, but you know what has moved is opposition for the stay in the Apple Watch case. Apparently, the International Trade Commission is saying that it opposes the ban or the stay of the ban, right? So long story short, and this is from what I understand, back in mid to late December, there was a ban, a sales ban was put on sales of Apple Watch in response to a IP case that was brought against Apple by a company called Massimo. They came out and had patented pulse ox or blood ox technology that they say Apple is using illegally in all of their Apple watches, that support that have that particular sensor. And so a sales ban was put in place. I believe sales of the Series 9 were put on hold just before Christmas, and I
and
believe
the Ultra and the
like the
Ultra.
23rd, and then on like the 26th, the Ultra, I think, was pulled from shelves or something like that, right? So apparently they appealed the sales ban, Apple did, and a stay on the ban was put in place, allowing Apple to or start reselling the Series 9 and the Watch Ultra 2. And I guess it looks like the United States International Trade Commission says, well, that just sucked. That's not cool. All right. Right now, the court is accepting responses from other parties in support of the ITC's ruling until January 15th. So the Apple Watch should remain available until early next
tomorrow.
week.
Well, tomorrow's the 15th, so
yeah. So at a minimum, right? But from what I understand, they think that the stay from the sales ban is not appropriate. So what do you guys think?
Apple's going to buy them at some point.
Yeah.
And then it'll go away.
Yeah, first of all, I do think that the case is more complicated than it appears on the surface. That is true.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Having said that, I don't know. Guys, got to keep in mind the reason the ITC is involved is because technically Apple manufactures the watch outside of the U.S. and imports it into the U.S.
Correct.
So that's why the ITC is able to even be involved in the first place.
Right.
So it gets very complicated. And I think that it'll take a little while to we're going to go through all these appeals and whatnot, and Apple has big pockets, so it's hard to know where this is going to land.
They're the second most valuable.
Well, there you go.
And that's true. They are second.
They're second now. Yep.
Yes.
But that's flip flop before. We don't even need to go down that path.
No.
And the only point I'm saying is that I don't know whether or not they'll ultimately succeed or whether they'll ultimately buy Massimo or how this will come down. But I think that it's going to be interesting to watch. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Happy New Year, everyone.
Thank you.
He's here all week.
First bad pun of the new year. But
try the veal.
Try the veal, please. Yeah, tip your waiters. But the short form is that they definitely have a situation here they got to resolve. But I do want to make it clear this is not one of those situations where Massimo is a patent troll trying to
that's true.
Trying to leverage Apple for money. Massimo actually does make a product, unlike the patent trolls. Typically, they do make the product.
Correct.
And they have a reasonable complaint here to bring up. And again, it's more complicated than it looks on the surface. It's very easy to say, oh, Apple did this, Apple did that, because the news media often does that with the big companies, as we're going to talk about in a bit.
Mm-hmm.
But there's still something's still wrong here. Yeah,
it's true. As true as all the things are you just said. There's still an element of, if Apple were a $1 billion company instead of a $1 trillion company, we would not be talking about this. It wouldn't be a big deal. It would just come and go, but it would be under the radar.
And this is not a big part of Apple's business, which is interesting in itself.
No, it's not.
Everybody said, "Oh, look, they're going to lose watch sales for a while." Back in December, and everyone went, the impact on them is
they lose iPhone sales. We got a problem, but
right.
I agree.
So
I agree.
So I guess it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out. But I think Joel's scenario is most likely, and I'm surprised they haven't already done it. It hasn't already happened, but
sure.
I mean, they can write a check to say, Bye-bye. Go away. See ya.
Right.
Well, yeah, they could settle out of court. Absolutely, they could settle out of court.
Or they could just buy it, like he said.
I don't know. Given what's going on with big tech right now, and the European Union, really going bananas with Apple and Google and Microsoft and Amazon.
Do they want to go down that path? Yeah.
It would be very, very easy for Apple to buy up Massimo. All right. Very, very easy. But I don't think that particular solution would be permitted to happen. So at least not right now with this case pending. All right. I don't think that would be a solution unless that's what Massimo wants and they convince the powers that be that they're okay with it. But because they're actually, as I said before, they're actually suing not only for stealing trade secrets, but also poaching employees. And we were talking about this a little bit in the pre-show. And Chris, you had mentioned some things that were pretty interesting. And I was hoping that,
I forget that, and I apologize. I don't remember the name of the employee that the chief engineer they were talking about, but he had apparently early on approached Apple and said, "Hey, why don't you hire me?" And Apple basically said no. And some time went by. He had quit Massimo, had been away from Massimo for at least a few months, and then kind of approached Apple again, or Apple approached him. I suspect he approached Apple based on the way the different stories are told. And this time they chose to hire him. Turned out not to be a good fit, and he didn't last that long there at Apple.
Okay.
But the point is, they never directly got him from the company at the time. There was gaps of time involved in the middle there. So then it really makes interesting conversations. It would all depend on what his termination clauses were, when he left. And, a lot of times you have a no compete that lasts a certain period after you. I don't know what any of that is. And those are the complications that we don't know.
Correct.
But they did not hire him directly from, or did not take him away directly from the company. But now having said that, once he did start to work for him, a number of other people from the company did come over, and they may have hired those people directly. So it's possible that there was some, at that point, there may have been something going on. But that initial employee, that the chief engineer guy that they got, was not technically poached in that sense. Unless there was a no compete reference in his contract. But the other folks, you could argue maybe they were. I don't know. So again, this is a very complicated story, and I have a feeling we don't have all the details. We just have people loving to throw stones over fences, but you're not really getting the whole picture here. I have a feeling there's more to this.
It's kind of like we're back in 1994. This last year with technology lawsuits and things like this. It reminds me a whole lot about that very first famous cup of hot coffee deal in 1994 with McDonald's. That was the first of many, and now we're in the third or fourth of many, but it's a whole different ballgame now.
Yeah, it is.
That was $1 million, and here we're talking billions.
Yeah, it's now. I suspect at the end of the day, that Massimo probably is entitled to some sort of compensation here on some level. Now, if it's as much as they think that is, I suspect not. But you always shoot for the sky and then and then settle lower. So it's going to be interesting to see what they do. But I think at the end of the day, it isn't going to massively change Apple's trajectory, even regarding watches, in any way, shape, or form. I mean, the resolution could be, that they buy these things out. The resolution could be that they disable the feature. But if they disable the feature, then a bunch of people who bought the watches are going to say, "Hey, we want compensation. You sold us and now you took the feature away."
It could actually be that Massimo actually has something a little better, some little particle of that. And they could buy them and add it to it and make Apple's product.
Yeah, better. Absolutely true.
And that way, that would be their cover story anyway.
Or they could just, start paying fees, right? To license it, whatever. A lot of possible outcomes here. But as Chris pointed out, some of the windows are starting to close this week, and I'm sure we're going to start to hear either the ban will go back up or a resolution will come through and somebody will have settled something. We're going to hear one of those things. I don't think this is going to stretch out much longer. I really don't. It's just not that big.
I hope it doesn't, because I don't like government or lawyers getting involved in too much of this crap, because
when the lawyers get involved, they're the only ones that make the money, right?
Exactly. And all they
and
do
when the
really
government's involved, they don't know what they're talking about.
Right.
No,
and all that really happens is that the tech gets taken away from the people that want it and need it.
Yeah, it hurts us.
We end up with we never seem to end up with a better product at the end of the day, do we?
Never.
No, we don't. And speaking of a better product,
maybe,
you never know. Apparently the release date for Apple's Vision Pro and its contents have been announced.
Yeah, so apparently we're gonna get the Vision Pro goes on sale on the 19th of this month, I believe, and it's going to be available after February 2nd, I believe is the date.
I think that's right.
Yep.
I think that's right.
And this thing is this long rumor process and whatnot is finally coming to an end. There will actually be a product on the shelves in a few weeks here. So, and this thing is coming with the headset itself. You're going to get a couple of bands for it to hold it on, a couple different types. You're going to get a light seal and some cushions relating to that. You're going to get a cover for your front glass. You're going to get a polishing cloth. Hey, Larry, your polishing cloth, it's going to pop up in other places now. They're doing the battery pack externally. We can talk about that in a second. It won't be on the headset itself like it is if you buy one of the Meta headsets. It's the battery pack as part of the headset. This will actually be a separate pack that's connected.
So there's going to be so it's corded for sure.
And you'll have the pack on your waist, on a belt loop or something.
Yes.
And then there'll be a USB-C power supply and a charging cable, of course. So those are the pieces you're going to get in the box. And when you and we'll talk about the ordering in a minute, but basically ordering involves, possibly as is, or you can get a variety of lenses, and Larry can talk about that with the product. So it's definitely more complicated than and higher end than what we've seen before. At least in the pseudo consumer market, if one can argue a $3,500 device is going to be consumer market.
Right.
But it's one of those things where it's going to be $3,500. It's probably worth the $3,500 if you have a use case for it. The device has. What I'm saying is the components in it are probably worth the money that they're asking to charge for it. But it's going to be interesting to see. And I'll say broadly, and I've said this to you guys before, I think it's going to sell better than people think it'll sell, but it ain't going to sell in iPhone kind of quantities.
No,
you're not going to sell those kind of, but I think it's going to sell better than people initially. And they said, oh, nobody's going to pay that for it. But you know what, kids? We said that when the iPhone came out. Nobody's ever going to pay that for a phone. And look where we are today.
Oh, it's twice we're paying twice what it originally came out.
And not just for an iPhone, but for lots of other products. What I'm saying is if they set a category and they meet the goals of the category, and this thing really is best in class and all that other kind of thing, if it truly is, we won't know till it comes out, but if it truly is that, if the apps show up, and again, I haven't seen a decent solid, I've seen minimal lists of what apps might be out, but it does look like it's very good at doing what it says it's going to do. But let's see what that really looks like when people start to get their hands on it. And if it is, I think it'll probably sell better than the initial kind of poo-pooing,
the other thing you don't want to forget about is, yeah, it costs $3,500. However, Apple's going to put this long list of crap together that it's not like you just walk into the Apple store and said, plop down your credit card, say, hey, give me one of those things and walk out with it. No, there's a whole list of fanfare and steps and procedures and fittings and blah, 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 blah. So they're going to make you think it's worth the $3,500 the best they can.
Right. Well, Larry, why don't you go ahead?
It's about the experience, right? It's going to be about the larger experience. I get it.
Right. I mean, I think that, customers that are hoping to get one of these things, I don't think they realize they're going to have to do a lot of stuff first. And the first thing they got to do is a face scan. And a lot of those people are going to say, wait a minute, no, you're not scanning my face, and they'll walk away. So you'll lose 0.5% of them there, maybe. And it's a complicated device. It's got so many pieces and parts that have to be sized and fit you just perfectly. I mean, they're going to do a 3D scan of your face. Now, that's the same scan they do for facial ID. Think about that.
Right, for Face ID, it's going to be a little bit more involved than the Face ID.
But I understand you're going to be able to do that with your iPhone, though, in the App Store before you even go in, I think.
Well, I think you have to have help at least during this temporary little period where people are trying it out.
Gotcha.
You can't do it yourself. They also said it may not be mandatory, but if you want to get the full benefit of having this thing fit right, you're going to have to go through that. And I think they also said that it's going to offer different size head straps and different light seals. They got to make sure this thing works, or people are going to have a bad experience. If they walk out with a bad experience, they're going to go down the street and say, "Don't buy that thing because it sucks." And Apple can't let that happen.
That's what I'm implying too, Larry. If the experience is good and things are come out as expected,
right?
It may do very well for a product at its price point, but.
I think some of the announcement was a little bit irresponsible too, myself, because you should not, one of the things they showed in the announcement was somebody walking around cleaning a house while they were wearing this headset. Guys, don't do that. That's I mean, it's just dumb. I mean, you will lose your peripheral vision. You're gonna hurt somebody or yourself,
or worse yet, damage the doggone thing, and there goes your $3,500.
I mean, it's just, I mean, people have the wrong idea of what this thing is gonna be. And a lot of people think, oh, as Apple, it's going to be cool. Well, not necessarily. Apple has made stinkers before.
They have made stinkers, but they've also surprised us before. So in a good way. So who knows what they're going to do?
I got to agree so much here with Chris Gavula that it's a use case thing. Personally, I said this in a pre-show. If you gave me one tomorrow, I couldn't use it because I have amblyopia and I can't see stereo. So I would only be able to see out of one eye or the other eye. It would do me no good at all. It'd be like me watching a 3D movie. I can't enjoy it. Right. So there's a lot of medical reasons or vision reasons people can't buy this. And some people are going to do it and go, well, yeah, it's cool, but
plus
$500 for it.
For folks like us who have to who have corrected vision,
the
other thing, we're going to spend an extra $200 at the get-go anyway if we buy one, because we need those Zenny lenses. Well, the thing is,
then the next time your prescription changes, you're going to spend another $200.
That's right. Among other things, to me, I think, and this is kind of one of my pet peeves with VR in general is, why do that? Just put an adjustable dial in there so that you can dial it in on your own and you'll be fine.
Well, yes and no. The complication
depends what it is.
The complication is that works if you're purely on the nearsighted, farsighted kind of spectacle.
Right, you have astigmatism.
If you have astigmatism, that's a different issue. So that complicates things quite a bit. So I can see why they want to do lenses, but again, I don't know what that experience is going to be like for anybody yet.
That's I mean, it's imagine you spend $3,500 on there. You got your lenses in there, and then your kid wants to use it. He takes them out, and you lose them, and you got to spend another $200. I mean,
that's
among other
true.
things. I mean, so it's just
there's a lot of complications here. There's a lot of $3,500.
$3,500 is not a personal device price. It just isn't.
It's just not. No, it's not. I get it.
I totally agree. I think
I do
it's
too.
overpriced for the
I think
consumer market.
I don't think it's overpriced for what it is. I think it's out of the range of what consumers are going to want to pay in general.
That's right.
But I don't think it's unreasonable for what they're offering. But I do think it's going to be interesting to see how people react to that, because again, we've been surprised before where if it delivers on what it is and what people really want, that whatever it's delivering, they'll spend it. They'll figure out a way to make it happen. They will do that. And we've seen that before. Now, especially when we're in an era now where, it is not unusual to spend $2,000 on a laptop or more. We've seen $4,000, $5,000, $6,000, $7,000 Macs that people will buy without blinking. So this has a market. How big a market? I don't know.
Right.
We'll see what that looks like. But it's definitely going to be more complicated, and I think people are going to have to understand, as Larry said, it's going to be. There's a lot to do. They have to be scanned. They have to make lens choices. You can get readers versus your prescription lenses versus and as we talked about the battery pack being separate. Initially, it seems like, well, geez, they couldn't put it on the pack. The headset's going to be heavy, and I think people have said that. That's another piece of this. The headset's going to be heavy, but the pack being separate, I think, is smart from that perspective, rather than making it part of the weight of the headset. But what I think smart about that is, as battery technology improves, you can get better battery packs.
Possibly, but one would hope. I am sure they're going to cost $100 or more.
Okay, also, bear in mind that $3,500 version only comes with 256 gigs too. So if you want a terabyte or 2 terabytes, your price is going to be a whole lot different.
Were there even options for higher terabyte? I thought that 256 was the only choice right now.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Is it? I thought that was the starting point.
No, I don't think there were higher choices yet.
There probably
and I
will
think
be,
I think the battery life is also a measly 2 to 2.5 hours.
Yeah, but that's standard. That's standard for standalone VR. That's standard. That's not unusual.
No, but one of the articles I read said, it costs $3,500, but standby, it's going to cost you about $4,000 before you're all done.
Oh, I think that's true. I think that's true. Before if you have any extras whatsoever, if you want a spare battery pack so it's easier to swap out or whatever, those kinds of, I don't even know what the accessory options for this thing are going to be yet. But any of that stuff, you're right. It's easy to go up there and above. But again, if you're already going to spend $3,500 on the thing, do you care about another $500?
Yep.
Probably not.
No,
I do. I would. I absolutely.
If I could already afford to spend $3,500 on a VR unit, then I probably don't care.
But you see, here's the thing, though. You keep saying this is that standard for VR units, and that this isn't really a VR unit.
Well,
I mean, it's a different thing altogether. It's more AR than it is VR.
I'm going to argue there is
no. Apple will tell you that it is not an AR unit. It's not a VR unit. You're not allowed to say those.
It's something completely different is what Apple.
It's a spatial computing device.
That's what they say.
That's right.
Well, that's what they're telling their developers have to call it.
That's part of the $3,500 package, kids.
Yes.
You got to have special terminology.
Yes.
Well, that's Apple anything. I mean, they invent face unlock again. And granted, I will say it's better than what Google had in the I think the Nexus 6 was one of the first ones that had it. But Apple reinvented it, and they have their own technology behind it. They're using LiDAR and all this other stuff. So I mean, the same thing happens here. I mean, it's true. No different than anything Apple. They have to invent their own terms for it because they're Apple. That's the only reason.
Well, they differentiate. That's marketing 101. If they added something different or did something different, they have every right to call it something different. That's fine.
Of course, yeah.
That's fine. It's marketing. I mean, otherwise everybody is going to think it's the same as so and so's thing, and it's not the same. So okay,
depends on what you're talking about, though, because a lot of the stuff they're talking about is the same.
Well,
But-
you said, for example, the face scanning technology. It's not the
Right.
same. And the other people's thing is a flat 2D image kind of taker. This is whereas Apple's is it uses LiDAR, it does 3D imaging, it does things that other people aren't doing. So they have the
Correct.
right to call it by something different term. I get it. But as a differentiator. Now, whether this thing is really differentiated yet, they haven't proven the point yet.
Right.
They haven't proven one way or another if it is. So, I'm waiting. Larry, you commented, you say this all the time. Until we see it, until Tim's on stage showing us,
That's right.
we don't
We
believe
all
it. Well,
say
I
that.
feel the same way about this. Until we see this thing in the wild, where more than a couple of bloggers have
Just
used
like
it,
all the iPhone 16 rumors. Ugh.
right. Until
Anyway.
I actually see people using this and we start to get some feedback from real people trying to use it in real situations, I don't have a lot of, I don't know what we're looking at.
Yeah,
here.
I mean, I'm not even putting any stock in the YouTube crap that's going to come out right after this hits, because
I would agree with you.
all they're going to do is be talking about themselves.
Well, right. It's a blogger thing. And I got to go to Apple and play with it for 10 minutes. Really? Okay. That's great.
So it's wonderful.
I don't know what, or they're slamming it without really understanding what they're
Right.
slamming yet either.
Agree.
Because you didn't get to do what you wanted to do with it at that time. Let's see what happens when real people get it and really try to use it. Is the fact that you don't have to use controllers in your hands and you're just going to, again, Meta has something like that. It doesn't work very well, but it's working better with each iteration. Let's see how Apple's works. Maybe it works very well. Maybe it's wonderful. Maybe it's, the next best thing since sliced bread. Who knows? Until it's out there and people are doing it. Okay. I mean, I think the hardware is worth the money that they're charging, but that doesn't necessarily mean it does what it's supposed to do. And I don't think they even know what it's supposed to do yet because it's a new category.
Yep.
I
Agreed.
think we, the users, may be, in fact, the folks who decide what this is going to be good for, not Apple.
Well, that's happened to us before with technology. So I wouldn't
We
surprise
may
me if we did
define
it again.
the actual use case. I mean,
Yep.
If you go back, many years now, who would have thought that cell phones would be our primary navigation devices?
right.
Who would have said that back at the time, or our primary cameras at the time? Who would have said that ever? At the time, that wasn't even on the radar for any of us.
Oh,
So
I said that. I said that.
Well,
Yeah.
you and I've had many conversations about this stuff over the years.
That's
But
true.
the point we're getting at now is that here we are. It's it's the first, Apple has a habit of redefining categories a lot of times that they're not what they were before Apple got into the play. So you can say, well, we have AR and VR headsets. Yes, we do. Will this be the same, just better, or worse, or will this be something different again? I don't know. So people start using it. I have no idea.
Not to mention the fact, I think a lot of things that we're guessing at here is that really going to be something you're going to want to use for productivity? And
Absolutely true. Absolutely
for me,
true.
I'm thinking, God, my head's going to be sweaty and uncomfortable. And
that may turn out to be more true than not, Joel, and people might walk
Right.
away from this thing.
Yeah.
It's hard to know. It's
then-
really hard to
and then,
know.
Joe, you'll leave it laid on the chair, and Duke will have a little bout with it.
There you go.
yeah.
Or it may well be
Yeah.
that people get it and it's okay, but they wish it was lighter. They wish it was this. They wish it was that. A little more of that. And all this is a product to get us to another year or two down the road, where all of a sudden a version 2 product takes off. Look at Microsoft and the Surface. Took them 3 versions to get that one right. So who knows what this looks like? If this gets people excited and that's all it does, that might be enough.
Maybe.
Who knows? Well, I don't know. Again, we'll know in a few weeks once we start to see people do it. So there we go.
Now, like you said, we'll see. And speaking of CES, apparently Google's got a little bit to say to come back with some of the new stuff coming out from Apple.
Larry,
you were making us aware of some of this stuff earlier this week.
I was, and actually, when I first looked at this, I just looked at it kind of in a cursory manner, and I said, "Yeah, more meh." But as I look at the basic 5 things that Google has come out with, there's actually, a couple of them that are for certain people are going to be very, very well accepted. There's, of course, a couple who, whatever. But anyway, not to be outdone by all the other tech companies that show off their toys at CES every year. This year, as Chris said, Google had a little bit to say.
Right.
This first one, I think, for the non-Apple crowd who primarily use Android and Windows, I think this is a good deal, because if you've ever had a Samsung Galaxy phone or a Galaxy tablet, especially the phone, you're familiar with Samsung's Quick Share feature. It was always something very similar, but not quite as good as AirDrop with Apple. So now Google has taken their Nearby Share feature, which had some different sub-features, and they have partnered with Samsung, and they're going to keep the Samsung name of Quick Share. They're going to release this. So now anybody with any Android device, any Chromebook, or any Windows computer can be benefactors of this new Quick Share. And when you read about it, if it does what they say it's going to do, and I have no reason to think it won't, I think it'll be a viable contender, and it'll at least give Android, Windows, and Chromebook people a way to quickly share things like we've always been able to do with a Mac and Apple and iPhone. So that one, I give it a thumbs up. This next one, however, TikTok comes to Chromecast. Oh, I can hardly contain my excitement.
Whatever.
Larry, tell us what you really think.
Well, no, but being realistic, since TikTok is truly where all the kids are right now, it only makes sense that Google's going to want to be there too. They're going to want to watch it in more places. Well, the company hasn't really said when they're going to release this. They do say that you will soon be able to cast content, including live videos from TikTok, to a Chromecast-enabled device.
Yes,
so
just what I want to see on my 40-inch TV is the middle portion of it taken up, because they record all TikToks vertically.
Yes,
right.
Let's just. I mean, I guess it'll make somebody happy. For me,
it'll make somebody.
I had a TikTok account for all of 5 minutes. I went on there, opened the account, looked around, said I'm done, and I closed the account. That's the fastest I've ever closed a social network ever. So, in fact, I still have several that I still have open, but
this third thing I think would be beneficial. I think to Joel. I think if Joel ever gets around to buying a Pixel tablet, Joel would like this. It's you're soon going to be able to cast music from Spotify and or YouTube to a docked Google Pixel tablet. That way, if you're listening to something on your phone,
you couldn't do that already, because I thought it was more.
No, you couldn't switch back.
No, that actually was one of those weird limitations that the product had. Is they didn't allow for that.
Yeah,
but I mean, I see a use case for that for folks who have Pixel.
What I'd rather see is be able to use to take my phone, use the phone's YouTube app to choose what I see on the Pixel tablet. Like, well, you can do that with Chromecast, or I can do that on my Roku TV. But like, I'd love to be able to do that with my iPad, but that's not happening.
Right.
No. But this is it's something they should have. Yeah.
Yeah. The next to the last thing, I actually like this one, and it probably won't excite too many people out there unless you're in the smart home space, but anybody who is in the smart home space absolutely knows without a doubt that HomeKit is not the way to do it. I don't care if you're a Google person or an Apple person, you need to be in Google Home, period. So what Google's going to roll out with the new Matter, it's called Matter in More Places. Matter's the new standard, of course, for instead of having things that are compatible with HomeKit, things that are compatible with Google, we're going to have Matter, which is compatible with everybody, and it works. I've got a couple of things now that work awesomely. So they're expanding their reach by turning some LG TVs and some of the Google TV devices into what they're calling Matter-capable Google Home hubs. And when they do that, that's going to be a big deal for those, again, use case. But if you have a Google or a Google Home, you're going to like this. Last but not least, that Google announced was good news for those who drive electric cars. Not any of us yet, I don't think, but Google Maps and Android Auto. The EVs with Android Auto will soon be able to share their battery status with Google Maps, totally integrated, so the navigation app can give you info such as your estimated battery life. You'll be able to project the direction you're going. You'll look at that highway. It'll show you how far you can go rather than showing you where the next EV charging station is. It'll show you your range, so you can see if you have to divert to get to a charger or whatever. So it can also guess how much time it takes to top off your car's battery when you arrive at that charging station. So the first upgrade for this will come to the Ford Mustang Mach-E and the Ford F-150 Lightning pickup truck.
You're not selling.
So I'm not owning either one of these ever.
No, the last thing that I want to do is own an EV-based pickup, but
yeah.
Oh, the boys here in Tennessee are arguing that right now.
Especially here in a cold climate.
So anyway, that's the long and short of it. But actually, a couple of those things are reasonable. I mean, they're fathomable.
Yeah, I think I'm most interested, though, in seeing that level of technology, that level of integration come to Google Maps and Android Auto. I still think that that's probably a very good idea.
Yeah,
I'd like to see that done for gas cars, too.
And I'd like to see this stuff come probably before I would AI and my notepad, which we'll talk about later.
Don't get me started. So,
we're gonna, but not for a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of Google, apparently they and Bing are under fire for, of all things, deep fake porn.
Yeah.
And thank you, AI. Joel.
Yep.
Joel. Hell.
So apparently they're under fire for promoting non-consensual deepfake porn as AI continues to brew more trouble. Well, here's my take on this. Microsoft Copilot won't show it, but first off, is Microsoft Copilot a search engine? It's not. So I'm still trying to figure that one out. But apparently
knows what
Google, right? Well, apparently Google will. But the thing is Google, the way I look at it is Google, I mean, there's a lot of other things they do, but the primary thing here is, and what I think they're talking about here is the fact that you can Google like star and porn and be able to pull up deepfakes. Well, that's not really Google's fault. Who made the deepfake?
Yeah,
that's the thing, and
who made it searchable, right? Who made it?
Right. Back up a track. Let's summarize what has actually happened. What was the problem for folks who don't know?
Well,
what were the products doing? Why are they being searched? Or sorry, why are they being investigated for this?
Okay, I guess because they want Google to block
according
it.
According to NBC News, deepfake porn is on the rise, right?
Right.
And there are a lot of stars that are getting really upset with this because it looks real. It looks like that person actually participated in that activity and allowed it to be filmed, and they did not. Right. There's also no fireproof way of preventing this stuff from recurring in the future. All right. Because there's no methods, there's no policies, there's no procedures in place to establish control over all this crap. Right. So the bumpers that we were talking about, right? Those bumpers, they don't exist. Right. And
absolutely true.
And then Microsoft Copilot refused to show it. Right. But I guess Google Bard may not have had such scruples.
Bard's not really. I don't see Bard even in the article here, so I don't think it's the issue with Google's AI itself. I think it's the fact that
search engine.
People are posting this stuff that they made.
So it's not the AI doing the search that's our problem. The problem is AI is being used to create this stuff, but our search engines are finding this stuff out there once they find it.
That's right.
So
be it created by Dolly or one of the umpteen million, you go just put in AI in the Play Store or even in the Apple's App Store, and you're gonna see a bunch of different generators on there.
Oh yeah,
and they're all generated, and some of them are NSFW. So I mean that's kind of where some of these tools are now. You don't necessarily need those apps to do that stuff. You can literally write your own by using ChatGPT or DALL-E or one of the other things too. So the guardrails I'm talking about aren't necessarily these things are very small potatoes when you're talking about AI, with what AI can possibly do to this world beyond making a fake. They've been making fake. When I was before the internet was a thing.
Well, ever since Photoshop was Photoshop.
Thank you. Yes, because like when I was a young buck on Starfleet Academy, didn't know any better. I went in there, and one of the files that was in the repository was a picture of Deanna Troi and Will Riker naked. And it's like, all they did was paste their heads on some bodies. That's all they did.
And that's what then AI just does that better. That's all. I get it.
Just a little better, and it's not even the greatest better, because sometimes the woman will have 6 fingers.
Yeah, so there really are there's two things here. Obviously, one would be, kids being able to search this stuff obviously is a challenge, and that's not a new challenge. That's obviously been there forever and ever and ever. But the other piece of this now is that, well, wait a minute, there are people that legally and legitimately make money doing some kind of porn for their business, and that's fine. They can do that, I guess. But the thing is that they have rights to their own images, and if other people are faking their own images, that's a problem.
Yep.
That is a problem.
In that case, it doesn't matter what they're doing in those images. Somebody has stolen your likeness and is using it for something that you did not authorize.
It's still, you still have a legal right there somewhere. So and AI's just made that easier, right? I mean, we have our phones can fake our voices. We have, can learn our voices and then fake anything we want to say, and then you have. Images being able to be faked very easily these days. It's hard to know what's real anymore, and unless you're supposedly the source and it's not you,
right?
I suppose.
Well, here's the other thing that can be very, very damning with all of this. All right, it brings into question the use of video as proof in any legal proceeding. Right.
Absolutely. Well, we've already had kind of those. That's starting already, right?
Yeah.
Well, it was on the internet. Now, it must be true, right?
Right. Just because it's on a TV screen or on a video monitor does not necessarily mean that it actually happened. And this is one of the things that most of the stars that are being deep faked, all right, are all up in arms about, because they can say until the cows come home, it's not me, it's not me, it's not me, and then somebody out there is going to go, yes, you're right.
Well, because if you say something often enough and loud enough, people will start to believe it's true, even if it's not. That's the way the world works, unfortunately. Yes. But this was also the crux of a lot of the strikes that we saw in the entertainment industry in the last year.
Yeah.
This was a big piece of that. That you don't have the right to just use my likeness because you paid for it once on one piece of film somewhere.
The only star that I know of that has agreed to have anything like that done is James Earl Jones, who licensed his voice to Disney as Darth Vader, so that they can go ahead and continue to use his voice in perpetuity.
Yeah.
All right. But that's the only person that I know of that has done any of that. So there you go.
Yeah, here we are. And we knew this was coming. I can't remember the name of it. There was a movie a few years ago where an actress had sold her likeness, and they were using it over and over and making her,
right.
And I can't remember the name of the movie, and I apologize for that. But the point is, it's interesting because that was before we even had these AI tools to do this at this level that we do now. And it was very, very kind of foretelling
Agreed.
So here we are.
Oh, yay. So let's go ahead and put that way over there for now. And
it just makes me glad that I'm not a star, because that's the last thing I need.
Yeah, because this is not the money maker that it used to be. I get you.
I was gonna say, Joel, don't you know they're taking apart our podcast and basically faking us everywhere? I mean,
absolutely.
like anybody needs to do that with us.
That's
Actually, I'm still upstairs watching football.
Thank you.
Thank you, AI Larry.
So what's the score of the Lions game? That's what I want to know. Anyway, yeah. Anyway, yes. So apparently, again, speaking of Google, apparently Google has taken some steps, and they're reorganizing the whole Pixel hardware division.
Well, not just Pixel; it's pretty much all of their hardware, because they're also talking about the Nest and the watches as well. Because you got to think, Google for a long time had essentially two teams. They had teams working on Fitbits, teams working on the Pixel watches, which also include Fitbits, including the former CEO of Fitbit, who's now no longer going to be employed. That's James Park, and a lot of hits on the AR team as well. So a lot of this is, while it sucks, a lot of this is streamlining all their hardware. It's not meaning the Pixel is under Pixel or the Pixel Watch or the Pixel tablet are under at any risk of being canceled, as in they're not going to make them anymore. It's just that they're trying to make it a more streamlined experience. Unfortunately, that requires them to lay some people off. So
yeah, apparently it's like a few hundred too.
Well, in the story that we originally linked to here, we had basically the story makes reference to them getting rid of some people in the AR division. They kind of lumped everything under the Pixel division now. Everything's kind of lumped under it. Everything, the watches, the Fitbits, everything, Nest. All these little in different teams, Nest. They're all kind of lumped under one, as Joel kind of mentioned. But the understanding is that the layoffs actually have expanded beyond the AR team. And it's about 1,000 people. It's about 1,000 people right now that have been let go.
Oh, that's awesome.
At Google. Yeah. Well, on top, keep in mind, guys, the reason this is a good thing is because this is on top of layoffs that Google have been doing over the last couple of years, which have been significant. And so the only one who hasn't had significant layoffs so far has been Apple.
Right.
Even
Cloudflare has too, because there's been a video going around of somebody recording them being fired by Cloudflare. On a Zoom, and I'm like, well, that's what a way to go about it.
That's the way it happens nowadays, though.
Well, that's just 2024, unfortunately. But yeah, I mean, the thing is Google probably needed to do this for a while.
Right. It's been, again, you buy all these companies, but then that goes back to, gee, are they forming a monopoly? Is that really what they're doing here? Is that bad? You can go down all those paths if you want.
Right.
But the point I'm getting at is that if you're going to do that, if you're going to lump these companies together, it makes no sense to have a separate division doing Pixel watches and doing Fitbit, for example. It makes no sense. Yep. You need to blur those lines and bring it together. Otherwise, why did you buy the company in the first place? And
it wouldn't surprise me at one point either Fitbit or Google Fit's going to go the way of the Dodo, because essentially they have two fitness tracking devices. In fact, my Pixel Watch works on both.
They've been throwing the features into Pixel Watch, so you have to wonder if they throw more and more features into Pixel Watch, at what point does it become where you don't need anything other than the Pixel Watch anymore in your product line?
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the thing.
You're going to get there, right? So
I mean, the Fitbits are great for those who want a much more simple device that don't want notifications and stuff like that. I think you can make a Pixel Watch that's the same.
I would agree. I would think you could have a base Pixel Watch and you could have a Pixel Watch Pro or whatever, however you want to do it, however you want to split those up. But yeah, you don't need separate product lines. I guess is what I'm getting at to do that.
Yeah,
those things are there, but it takes time. And
I think you've got essentially two. Let's see. The watch and the phones are all based on Android, and then the smart home devices themselves, with the exception of the Pixel tablet, are on Fuchsia OS. So
the tablet's on Android, right?
Right. So I mean, that's essentially two different areas. Essentially,
my thought with all this was simply that, look, yes, it's scary. Yes, it's upsetting. Yes, everybody, there's a lot of negatives to this. I get all that, but the thing is, Google needed to do for a long time what Apple already did.
That's
because
right.
now they can expand and they in the sense that they can bring things and they can bring things like the announcement that Larry mentioned earlier, where all of a sudden we're going to have a service that'll work across all these devices. The quick share is going to work across devices. They can do more of that if the devices themselves are under the same umbrella. With under different umbrellas and different silos of development and all that, it's very hard to coordinate those kinds of features, and that's something that Apple's been extremely good at, and why people stay in the Apple space more than anything is because they like that kind of consistency, and Google's not been very good at that, and I think this will help them. I think it's going to help them a lot, get down there, at least with their hardware products.
Yep.
Assuming they don't drop any of the hardware products anytime soon, because they've done that before on us too. So
yeah, they sure have.
True. So that kind of ends the first half of the show. I'm going to move us to our Windows segment, but in a moment, I'd like to pause for this brief message. Hi, this is Christopher Spera with iTechGear.org, and I'm here to tell you that iTechGear.org and the iTechGear Weekly are on Patreon. Patreon is a platform for creators, allowing them to express their creative side in an organized, marketable fashion and earn a living or create a really cool kind of side hustle. You can create a community around your hobby of choice. You can gain followers. You can get members and supporters all along the way. You can create subscription products that for a pledged amount every month, you'll provide to your members and followers. Setup is easy, prices are reasonable, and you can have your pledges auto-deposited into an account of your choice every month. With iTechGear.org, our initial offering is a monthly newsletter for just $3 a month. This is our initial offering, and we'll have other tiers and other products and other offers up in the coming months. Become a patron of our site. Grow with us, and we'll provide you with the tech understanding that you're missing right now. Join us on Patreon at www.patreon.com/iTechGear. That's www.patreon.com/iTechGear. And welcome back to the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 73. CEMeh, I can't unmeh that. So as I said before, I want to go ahead and move us to our Windows segment. And we just got off talking a lot about AI and reorging things to really support what's going on. And I think Microsoft is trying to do some of the same kinds of thing, not necessarily reorganizing everything, but sort of consolidating some things and really trying to get things together when it comes to AI. They're adding writing assistants, which I think could be a good thing. I mean, if you use Grammarly, like I do all the time, every day out loud, and just about everything that I do on the computer, that's where some of this is coming in. But they're putting it in, of all things, Notepad first. I don't understand why they're doing it with Notepad.
I had an epiphany a minute ago. I figured it out.
You had an epiphany?
I did.
As long as it's not contagious.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't want to be. It's not catching, is it? Yeah,
I really truly believe that they are putting this in. First of all, let's step back one notch. A lot of writers. I mean, I myself, when I'm writing, I want a blank piece of white paper digitally in front of me. I don't want any crap around it like a toolbar or a ribbon in Microsoft Word. I want a blank piece of paper. So Notepad is still very, very, very good at being a blank piece of paper. And if they put this in and they make it where you can rewrite stuff automatically, or say, take that paragraph and make it a little shorter or make it a little longer, or change the tone of it from casual to professional, or change the format, like from a paragraph to a blog post, whatever. I think if you dig back in your memory, if this reminds you of something, you're not mistaken. It is Compose. Compose is the option that Microsoft baked into to the Edge browser last year, and I'll bet $100 that's what this is.
That could be, but Larry, I'm kind of like you. I like that blank sheet of paper, just being that blank sheet of paper. I don't even like follow-ons like Notepad++.
This won't get in your way.
But to me, all this stuff gets in the way. I just want it clean.
Wait a minute, but it's not in the way if it doesn't say, "Hey, I'm in your way." If
it's in the way if it starts bringing up highlights that says, here's a recommended change," which is what Word and them do. I don't want any of that.
No, not like Grammarly. But if you highlight, you, the author, you highlight one paragraph and you say, "Make this shorter," and it does, then you've made it happen.
I get what you're saying. To me, I'm a purist. I don't want any of that stuff there at all. I want Notepad to be as clean as possible. I want as few menu choices as possible. I don't want any of that crap. I just want it to be a text editor. That's all I want it to do. I don't want it to do anything else for me. If I want something else that does something else, I want some additional features.
You've got Word for that, right?
Or there's other tools. There's lots of other tools that add your capability.
I'm a little the opposite. I want the tool available, only available. If it gets in my way, I'm like you, I don't want it. But if I elect to change the tone of something after I've read it, and I said, I don't like the way that sounds.
But to me, Notepad was a purist tool, and I want it to stay pure. But
and that's writers like Mary Jo Foley will go ahead and tell you that's exactly why she wrote in nothing else other than Notepad.
Yeah.
All right. Because all it was a blank piece of paper. It saved everything to plain text. She put all her HTML tags where they needed to go. So you got all the things.
Yeah. I've coded 1,000 websites in that thing. Not anymore, but
I just don't get why they're going to do it in Notepad first.
Right.
All right. For that very reason, it's supposed to be just a text editor. All right.
Well, to me, you should be releasing something again. Let's re-release WordPad with some of those capabilities, something in the middle, right?
Sure.
Something that's between Notepad and Word. That's what I think this kind of stuff belongs. And it's a different, to me, it's a different layer of tools. And I don't want it. I don't want anything added. I'm a purist.
Yeah. Yep. I get it.
But I get what Larry's saying. It's probably very valid what you're saying, that Larry, is about the as to the reasoning for having it there, and the fact that it wasn't. You're right. It was an Edge. Compose was an Edge, and I can see how it got here and why. But to me, this is just Microsoft's knee-jerk, let's throw AI into everything kind of mindset. And I just, without really thinking about what the use cases are for it. Once again, going back to the word use case, but I get really frustrated with just we're going to throw everything at the wall and see what sticks. Come on,
right?
I don't want it there.
Right.
Yeah, we're also in the position of being at the forefront and being early adopters, and we've been talking about AI for a long time. But AI for a lot of people is just yesterday. I mean, it's not last year; it's yesterday.
Right.
So I sometimes
it still may not be a thing either. I mean, I mean, they may, they may like,
unless you're into deep
maybe using it. Well, yeah. But they may be using it. They may not even know. I mean, for example, technically on the Pixel 6 Pro, that top row is driven by AI.
Now, let's take it even further, Joel. I mean, you've kind of not just on the Pixel 6 Pro, but like anybody who uses a phone with a camera and you pick everything automatically, it's AI that's making those decisions for you. Now you can argue what flavor or what layer or which type it is, but the point is all those decisions are made for you.
And they don't even, and many people don't even know it.
And you don't even realize. So I think that's how AI is really going to get in our lives more in any way. It's going to be in ways that we don't notice. It's not going to be these obvious, I put this in and I told it to do this kind of search and it came back with these kinds of stuff. That's not what it's going to be. It's going to be these little things.
Like I get to the gym in the morning and I swipe up to go to the app, and one of the first icons at the top is my gym app, because I have to bring that up and which pulls up a QR code, and I can scan the QR code as I go in. It uses AI to figure that out. Well, he's always opening it up at this time of day. Plus, Plus, how
Right.
hey, you got your
And-
GPS
and-
coordinates, and
right.
you're right near there, so might as well put that
Well,
up there.
and iPhones had things where you could have, events scheduled based on location, right? So something had
Yeah.
happened, it recognizes you're at this location now, so it's going to do these things. You're right. Those are all things that those are the kinds of things that are going to happen.
Right.
Well, Chris,
This-
like you said a minute ago, maybe they should introduce this just slightly different. Not that
Yeah.
they don't listen to us, but so you're using Notepad in its purest form and everybody's happy. And then all of a sudden you think, well, I think I want to work with some AI. Well, press a button and it turns into AI pad or whatever.
Yeah, you could do that. I mean, if you work with Outlook, you can use. If you work with Outlook today, you can use the traditional look Outlook, or you can use the new look Outlook, and you can flip a toggle to flip it, kind of thing. You can do that.
On, turn the ribbon bar off. I mean,
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. And
leave my basic Notepad alone.
right. And apparently, though, it is from what I'm understanding from the article that we're citing, it is co-writer, and
yeah,
it
that makes
and
sense.
I believe there is a toggle
Copilot,
switch.
you mean?
I believe there is a toggle switch that
There you
allows
go.
you to turn it on and off.
Oh,
but even
okay.
still, it's probably on by default. All right.
Yeah, that's
And that's
I don't want,
where
but-
I have the issue. That's where I
Well,
have
I would like you guys to know that on my taskbar, on my Windows machine, I have never, ever once pressed the button that says Copilot.
I have to tell you,
once.
I have done the
Nothing.
same thing. I have not used it. It's there,
I could care less.
and I will say that I have been in Bing and told it to use. As a matter of wanting to try it, I've tried the large, the model to see
I've
what would come up with. I've tried it
I've used
within
AI
there.
a lot. I just don't use their Copilot.
But
That's all.
Right.
Copilot's like, well, all Copilot is doing is bringing up that page mostly anyway. It's really not
Right.
doing much else when you click that button.
I
from
tried
everything
to
I've read.
use. I tried to use it, but it just wouldn't understand why I was telling it. Like I wanted to design me a snowflake, so that was in basically a 2-bit image, so that I can pull that into a 3D printing application.
Sure.
And it couldn't get that right. It would reverse the colors, or
nice.
it would do all sorts of things that I didn't want to do. And I just wanted it just black with the background of it transparent, wouldn't even do that. So
There's a lot of limits to it. Let's be honest. There's a lot of limitations to the whole thing.
AI is a toy right now, and I think this is just the first gasp of it. Eventually, it's gonna fall out of favor, and we'll go back on, and then the next round will happen. Just like VR, we've been talking about VR since the 90s, dude.
Oh, we have.
I mean, the thing is, there at one point there was even a Vermal, and so you had HTML, and then you had VR markup language, which never really
did anything.
Did anything. But we're going to be talking about AI probably for the rest of our lives, and it's not going to be great probably until near the end of our lives. So,
and I don't even know if it'll be great then. It may just be scary then.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Anybody who grew up or was coming of age when most of us, I can't say anything about Larry, but Chris, both Chris's and myself, we've seen the Terminator, we've seen RoboCop, we've seen how dangerous this can be.
Yeah, well, we
it's
don't want,
fiction.
What is it? Chris always says we don't want Skynet.
Yes.
Well, that's the thing. The thing is,
just
yes,
say no.
It's fiction.
But I think the problem is we're going to have it and not realize that we're there, and then all of a sudden we're all going to go, "Oh crap, it happened."
It happened.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. That's the thing. And those were works of fiction, but they were very smart works of fiction because they really thought about it in what could happen.
Well, and this has happened. I mean, some of these fiction writers. I mean, let's talk about Jules Verne.
Yes,
to the moon. He had like so many facts correct that there's no way he could have known. So you can't take a piece of fiction and say it's just a piece of fiction.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. So the thing is, You know, a lot of and some of these are actually self-fulfilling in the sense that somebody sees this piece of fiction, and all of a sudden we think, oh, I got to have that, or oh, I want to do that, or oh, I want to, you know, and they lead us there. Look at, for example, the quote unquote tablets used in the Star Trek series earlier on. All of a sudden now we have tablets for everything, and everybody's taking tablets around, and you know, your waiters are taking orders with your tablets. We didn't think that was going to happen at the time. That was science fiction. You know, the point I'm getting at is that these things have a way of being self-fulfilling sometimes. Somebody says, oh, that's cool.
And if you don't believe what Chris is saying, go back and watch just 2 episodes of the Jetsons.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Because we thought that's what we should have. So people developed that stuff. But people thought, oh, that's cool.
They could have known it back then. No way in hell.
But people saw that and said, oh, that's cool. And somebody said, I wonder if he could do that. And that's what gets you started. And that's what got us. A lot of these things came out of that kind of stuff.
Yep.
So,
well, not to mention the fact, you know, when these restaurants are putting these tablets on the table so that you can pay your bill right then and there.
Right, yeah.
Dude, that keeps your credit card a ton more secure.
It really does. But the point is, there's all this stuff, but there's all
nobody
this stuff
holds it.
That's right.
But this is true. But this is why I don't like throwing it. Again, we go back to our topic. This is why I don't like that Microsoft just throws this stuff at us in it, because again, I think it's kind of, oh, wait a minute, did I ask for that? You know,
right?
And by the time I can respond to it, it's too late. It's already a done deal. And I'm so afraid that that's what's going to happen with a lot of these AI things, and it's going to be stuff I didn't want. And you know, this is one thing that we can actually say something about and talk about it. It's still going to happen, but at least, you know, we're still in the early stages, as Joel said. We can still talk about this stuff. What's going to happen when we get to the point where we can't really talk about it? It's just a done deal.
Right.
You know, that's what scares me. And then this leads them assuming things like this and throwing things at us is where it starts.
Yep.
Right. Well,
anyway.
Well,
that's why the
thanks.
EU is looking into Microsoft's AI investment.
It's exactly right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Well, that's actually not why they're looking into it.
Well, that's true, but
wait a minute. Before we talk about why, maybe we should. Can I just say a couple of words about the organization itself that's looking into it? Because there's a lot of people that don't know what the EU really is. And I mean, it wasn't that long ago that I actually learned. The EU is a merger regulation framework that tries to prevent any merger or acquisition that could significantly reduce competition in the European market.
Right.
So they're the European Commission. I mean, the European Commission is the authority that enforces this, and they have the power to approve, block, or impose conditions on any transactions. So that gets us into the EC is now announced, blah, blah, blah. So go ahead, Chris.
So broadly, though, the EU was an organization of these countries that got together from economic reasons. So the framework is part of their kind of umbrella of things that they touch, things that they look at, things that they do. This merger regulation is what Larry, what you're referring to, and that's what this is the source of this investigation. Is that it's not about whether or not Microsoft should be investing in AI or anything like that. It's more about whether or not the fact that Microsoft is investing in OpenAI, and that became very exposed after the whole OpenAI fiasco a few weeks back there.
Right.
It's like but the question is whether or not that investment and the way they're investing it, does that constitute a merger? And from the EU's regulatory perspective, is it really effectively a merger at this point? Even though they're not legally merged, is that what this really looks like? In practicum, is that what this really looks like? And that's really what they're investigating.
Right.
So it's because if it is and it does, then other things apply, right? Under their laws, other things apply.
Well, I think that they just feel that it could give Microsoft unfair advantage over its rivals, and that would harm.
Well, then you start talking about anti-competitive behavior. You start talking about monopoly behavior. No, and that's what I mean by it comes up. If it's true and they feel that this is in fact a merger, then these other things start to become true.
Well, let's go one step back again and just remind everyone that this is Microsoft investing over $1 billion, and I'm not exactly certain.
13 billion.
13 billion.
Yeah. 13 billion dollars in
since 2019.
OpenAI.
Yeah.
In OpenAI, right? The company that puts together or pulls together or publishes ChatGPT. And the European Union and the European Commission specifically is looking to make certain, as you said, that this is not a merger and it's not a move or an overarching influence to make AI what Microsoft wants AI to be.
I'm kind of okay with this, really. There's a reason they're doing that.
Well, I know that Microsoft wants AI to heavily integrate.
No, I mean, there's a reason that people should worry that Microsoft is doing this.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I know Microsoft.
I'm not with Microsoft. I'm with the organization saying what they're saying.
And I have to agree that normally I would say, look, when it comes to tech kinds of things, they don't know what they're talking about. But this is not a tech question.
No, it's a merger thing.
It's a merger and acquisition kind of question.
Is it a merger? Because they haven't.
Well, that's the question.
Stock.
That's what
they invested in the company. You know, they haven't traded stock. It's not a merger. They invested in the company. All right. Yep. That's all that legally.
But then the question is, have they effectively bought it? Do they effectively own it because they've put so much money into it?
And that's the question.
And that's the question.
Did their $13 billion investment effectively $13? Hey,
a nice way, Chris, a nice way to look at this. If some company came along and said, Mr. Spera, here is a $2 million check for iTechGear Weekly. Can we play in your space? Have they?
Hell yes. Hell yes. I've already cashed that check.
But now they effectively can say whatever they want, do whatever they want.
Same thing here.
Right.
If they tell you, hey, you're going to say
you took our money. You took our money. You do what we tell you. Right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
And I think that's the question.
I get you.
It's a fair question,
and I understand what you're saying.
It's a business question. It's not a tech question.
It is, and that's why they're looking into it. All right, that's why they're looking into it. Although I would love to cash that $2 million check
that you want to get rid of.
Right.
So, but yeah, hit me with that $2 million check, and you can have the show. Goodbye.
Right.
Anyway, but that, kids, is effectively the show. I want to now move us to our pick of the week segment. But before we get there, I'd just like to remind everybody that, our show picks are typically hardware, software, and other items of interest that we have individually purchased and actually used, and that we like enough that we want to recommend them to you, our growing listener base. These aren't paid advertisements or any sort of items for which we have any kind of affiliated marketing relationship with. If they were, the editorial policy at iTechGear.org indicates that we have to notify our listeners and our readers up front that relationship exists. We just sincerely believe in these picks, and we want to bring them to you at the end of each show. Why?
Because we like you.
There you go, kids. We do. And Joel, you've got the pick this week. So what did you actually find for your first pick of the year?
Yes. Well, not an Anchor product for once that does charging things, which is kind of surprising here.
Looks like one though.
It kind of does, doesn't it? One of the things I've been kind of looking for is anything with more than one USB-C port. Because here I'm sitting here with my iPad Pro, which charges with USB-C, my Pixel 6 Pro, which charges with USB-C, and then the lone Lightning thing that I have other than my iPhone, my AirPods Pro. So, actually no, AirPods. I don't have the Pro version, but okay. So I was I'm trying to remember. I think I bought this before Christmas. In fact, the one I bought actually is no longer available. The one I bought was the USB-C fast. It's one of these Wish kind of sounding things that you see on Amazon. So it says USB-C fast charger, 100 watt gallium arsenide compact 6-port USB-C charging station hub. Block portable wall charger adapter 3 USB-C and 3 QC USB-A for all iPad iPhone 15, 14, 13, 12 Pro, Max, Pixel, Note, Galaxy. Okay.
It's easy for you to say.
Sacrack, you need the brand is Sacrack, SACRACK. One of those Chinese brands. It was when I bought it, it was $26.99. This is a 100-watt gallium arsenide charger, has 3 USB-C ports and 3 USB-A ports. It'll do a total of 100 watts between all of those ports. The USB-C ports will go up to 20 watt, and one of the ports will do 60 watts.
Nice.
All right. So they've, since I bought it, this one is no longer for sale because they brought out a new version, which is 160 watts for only $10 more. And it has a slightly, well, equally bad name, but I bought these right now until I end up. One of the things I think I've got on my wish list for sometime this year is one of the Ugreen ones, which they have Ugreen. Ugreen makes really good chargers that will go up to 200 watts. But these will work great. When I was on vacation, I took this and used this in my hotel room. I always have, like, not only do I have multiple chargers that I can charge all of my stuff, but I let the family use them as well, and always bring spare anchor cables with me. But for $36, this is not a bad device. I've got my phone plugged into it right now, and of course, I forgot to mention my Iowa headphones. They're USB-C too, but these will charge off that too. I have not found anything this thing will not charge. So,
nice.
And it does a good job at it. And nice thing when you're traveling is something like this. I don't know if I would ever just take this. I always like to bring the originals with me as well, because it doesn't hurt to have more than one charger that'll charge your device.
I totally agree.
In the hotel room, so it's called being prepared, because I was a Boy Scout. So
stuff does happen. Been there, done that.
So $36.99, not a bad thing. Go out and get one of these, and you'll be happy.
Looks nice.
No, that's awesome.
Yep.
Well, kids, that is the show. Our first show of 2024. This has been the iTechGear Weekly, episode number 73. CEMeh, I can't unmeh that. Recorded live January 14th, 2024 for Dr. Mr. Larry McJunkin, Mr. Chris Gavula, and Brother Joe McLaughlin. I want to say we will see you all next time.